me has always been there, but now it's awake. I need help.
I've seen this raw strength only once before.
From the moment this chapter of the Star Wars saga arrived, it signaled a major turning point in how the entire galaxy far away would be understood. Years of anticipation had built up around what direction the story would take, especially after the return of the franchise under a new era of filmmaking. When audiences finally witnessed the film, it quickly became one of the most talked about chapters in the modern era of space fantasy cinema. The discussions began the moment the first audiences walked out of theaters' conversations filled with excitement, shock, confusion, emotional reflection, and endless theories. Even today, people still revisit those conversations as if the movie came out yesterday because the echoes of that initial reaction have never really faded away. It became a cultural moment within the franchise, shaping how fans, critics, and creators looked at the future of Star Wars storytelling. The film didn't just continue the story, it challenged expectations in a way that no one truly saw coming. Throughout its development, there was a deep sense of curiosity surrounding what new ideas would enter the Star Wars universe, especially with new creative minds approaching its themes and characters. Before release, little details about production were shared except the notion that this chapter would explore difficult choices, emotional weight, and the inner struggles that define the characters. Behind the scenes, the creative team focused on pushing boundaries, experimenting with visual style, emotional tone, and narrative structure. They wanted to make something that didn't simply repeat the familiar beats, but instead invited people to experience the franchise through a different lens. That approach led to decisions that sparked debates that still continue years later. During filming, many of the actors described the experience as both exciting and surprisingly intense. They spoke about how the story demanded a more personal level of performance, tapping into moments of vulnerability, doubt, strength, and inner conflict. Several scenes required meticulous emotional preparation, while others relied heavily on physical endurance, training, and precision. Crew members worked closely with actors to bring out subtle expressions, particularly in scenes where a character's internal struggle meant more than any spoken line. This added emotional layer created a richer atmosphere on set and resulted in moments that felt deeply human, even within the fantastical world of Jedi, starfighters, and galactic struggles. The practical effects and location work also played a significant role in shaping the film's identity. Even though modern filmmaking relies heavily on digital enhancements, this production placed strong emphasis on real sets, physical structures, and on location shots to maintain the classic tactile feel of Star Wars. Massive sets were constructed, ranging from ancient environments to starship interiors, allowing actors to feel grounded in spaces that looked and felt tangible. On remote islands, crews worked through unpredictable weather and difficult terrain to capture breathtaking shots that eventually became iconic. These struggles became stories of their own, with crew members recalling long nights, harsh winds, and unpredictable natural conditions that sometimes halted production. But all those challenges contributed to the film's unique texture, making every frame feel like part of a living, breathing world. While the movie was in production, expectations were sky high. Rumors, fan theories, and speculation flooded the fandom. People debated what the new chapter would reveal about long-standing mysteries, relationships, and the direction of the galaxy's future. Countless discussions filled fan gatherings, online communities, and even mainstream entertainment outlets. The heightened secrecy surrounding the film only fueled the excitement, making every small update a moment of major attention. Even the smallest behind-the-scenes photo or interview quote would spark hundreds of interpretations. But the creative team stayed firm in protecting every surprise, wanting audiences to experience the story without knowing where it was going. When the film finally released, it became one of the most widely discussed entries in modern cinematic history. Some viewers immediately embraced the bold direction, praising the emotional depth, thematic bravery, and character-driven storytelling. They argued that the choices made within the film added complexity, challenged heroic myths, and brought fresh philosophical ideas to the saga. Others, however, felt surprised or even frustrated by the unexpected direction. The divide became a defining feature of the film's legacy, sparking passionate debates that lasted for years. Even people who didn't consider themselves major fans of the franchise found themselves pulled into the conversation, simply because the film ignited discussions on creativity, tradition, change, and the nature of storytelling. Despite the mixed reactions, one thing became absolutely clear: the movie left a deep and lasting impact. It influenced how future creators would approach the franchise, prompting them to consider both the risks of innovation and the expectations tied to such a beloved saga. It also pushed the boundaries of what audiences thought a Star Wars film could be, expanding the thematic and emotional range of the series. Long after release, many began to reassess the film, forming new perspectives as they re-watched it with fresh eyes. Some who initially struggled with its choices later found themselves appreciating the boldness, while others maintained their critiques but acknowledged the film's courage in taking risks. This evolving relationship between the audience and the film created a unique legacy, one where conversation never truly settled, and interpretations continued to evolve. The emotional core of the film also became a major topic of discussion. Many viewers connected deeply with themes of failure, redemption, loss, hope, and personal growth. The story explored the idea that even heroes can struggle, make mistakes, or face moments of self-doubt. This led to conversations about how mythical characters can still feel human, relatable, and flawed. People discussed how the film portrayed the weight of legacy and the responsibility characters carried on their shoulders, especially those trying to find balance between their past and their future. These emotional arcs inspired reflections among fans about how stories of growth and struggle resonate in real life, making the film not just a spectacle, but a source of introspection. Behind the scenes, the creative team continued to share stories about how the film evolved during development. They described moments where certain sequences were completely reimagined, reshot, or refined through countless hours of editing. They spoke about how music, lighting, and cinematography were carefully crafted to reflect the inner world of each character. The musical score was treated as a major storytelling tool, guiding emotion, tension, and dramatic energy throughout the film. Each sound, each shift in melody, each rising or falling note was designed to enhance the emotional power of a scene without overshadowing it. Crew members later shared how much effort went into even the smallest details, such as costume textures, creature designs, background props, or subtle visual effects. The film also became known for its striking visual style, achieving a balance between classical Star Wars aesthetics and modern cinematic ambition. Certain scenes immediately became some of the most visually memorable moments in the entire franchise, inspiring artwork, photography recreations, and discussions about symbolism. The use of color, particularly the contrast of deep blacks, bright reds, and subtle whites, added layers of meaning that audiences continued to dissect long after release. Visual symbolism became a topic of analysis across fan communities, with people exploring how specific images reflected inner conflicts, turning points, or thematic statements within the story. Over time, the film's place within the larger Star Wars timeline became a subject of analytical breakdown. Fans compared how its themes contrasted with previous chapters, how its messages evolved certain character arcs, and how it shifted the tone of the trilogy. This created a multi-year conversation about narrative balance, character development, and the challenges of continuing a story across different creative visions. While some believed a film expanded possibilities, others argued it created new challenges. But no matter which side of the discussion people were on, everyone agreed that this chapter fundamentally changed the direction of the saga and shaped everything that followed. The long-term legacy of the film became one of constant reinterpretation. Some fans revisited it years later and found themselves appreciating aspects they previously overlooked: subtle emotional beats, symbolic imagery, or deeper character motivations. Others maintained their criticisms, but acknowledged that the chapter's boldness made it unforgettable. The film's ability to inspire passionate debate also became part of its identity. Instead of fading into nostalgia, it remained a living conversation, showing how a single chapter of a franchise can influence the attitudes, expectations, and ideas of an entire fan community. In the broader world of cinema, this chapter became a reference point whenever discussions arose about creative risks in major franchises. Filmmakers and critics pointed to it as an example of how big-budget films can still provoke thought, challenge expectations, and push audiences to reflect on deeper themes. It influenced future directors who wanted to blend blockbuster scale with emotional and philosophical storytelling. Whether people agreed with its choices or not, the impact it had on the landscape of modern film storytelling was undeniable. Today, the chapter continues to be re-evaluated, studied, and discussed. New generations of fans discover it and bring their own interpretations, contributing to a conversation that refuses to end. Many now consider it one of the most significant and daring entries in the modern era of Star Wars, a film that not only expanded the universe, but also reshaped the way stories within it could be told. Its legacy is still unfolding, proving that sometimes the chapters that spark the most debate are the ones that leave the deepest marks. And as time moves forward, this chapter remains a story that challenged tradition, embraced emotion, and dared to redefine what a saga as legendary as Star Wars could be.